It's Monday, the 29th of June. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel, and today we're going to do a quick debrief on the recent Powellville fire just outside of Reno, Nevada, that started on Saturday, the 27th of June. That fire has since grown to about, well, it's just about out by now, over 30% containment, and it grew to about 3,000 acres and took out about 8 structures. This is a classic fire debrief in that this was a wind-driven event. This fire occurred near the top of Peavine Mountain, just north of Reno, Nevada. If you've gone to the Reno National Championship air races and sat in the grandstands and look over your left or right shoulder where the Unlimiteds come down the chute, that big mountain in the background, that is Peavine Mountain. We've recently had a cold front pass to the north of Northern California, producing a strong southwesterly flow of wind over the Sierra Nevada mountains and over in the Reno area. This fire started Saturday afternoon. We don't know what started it. There was a car fire in the local area that they thought was out from the night before. They're not sure if this was related or not. But it started up there near the top of the mountain and headed downhill, driven by the winds, towards the Reno Stead Airport, and it came down that hill hard and fast. And this is dry sage. Here it is near the end of June, and we're already getting some extreme fire behavior in the sagebrush at this elevation, whereas normally things are a little greener this time of year at that elevation. So being over in the state of Nevada, that makes this a federal fire. The air attack out of Minden was the air asset coordinating over the top of the fire. They've got a couple single-engine air tankers out of Stead that were able to initially respond to the fire. And of course, Stead Airport has an air tanker base right there. So the fire is right next to the air tanker base. Nevada also on initial attack usually calls CAL FIRE, and so CAL FIRE sent a couple of S2s, and then pretty soon there was the Erickson MD-80 air tanker was involved. I think the KC-10 possibly was involved as well. Helicopters. There was quite a bit of air assets, but again, being a wind-driven event, air crews were basically fighting the old game of whack-a-mole, trying to get this fire contained. Let's go inside and show you a little bit more. So starting here with the Google Maps, here's Reno, Nevada. Zooming in, Peavine Peak located right here just to the north and a little bit west of the city of Reno, and then the Reno National Championship air races located here at Stead Airport. So this fire just started just to the east of Peavine Peak and worked its way downhill towards 395 in the direction of the Stead Airport. And of course, Stead is also the home of the air tanker base. Okay, now we'll switch over to the Nevada wildfire maps. Nevada wildfire information maps. Here's the Powellville fire starting just to the east of Peavine and coming down slope towards 395. And this is the final update on this, showing about 3,000 acres, cause unknown, under investigation. When this fire first broke out, here's what's called the heel of the fire, or where the fire originated, and the wind coming out strong, very strong out of the west, 30-plus knots of wind drove this fire this direction. It initially drove a long, skinny run down the mountain. So if this is the heel of the fire, this is the right flank of the fire, and this is the left flank of the fire, and this is considered the head of the fire. Remember, the winds are going generally this direction before they shifted a little later into the fire more from the south, blowing out the left flank. So typically firefighters try to anchor the fire here at the heel and then begin working the flanks of the fire. And in this case, they've got assets coming and going from Reno Stead, but they're having a heck of a time getting on the flanks, working their way through the smoke, getting on the flanks of the fire. Remember, the fire started out a very long, skinny fire, but being such a wind-driven event, pretty soon it became apparent that, hey, this fire is going to bump up against these houses down here pretty hard. And I believe these are some of the houses that were lost in this fire. So now aerial asset managers have to divert their resources and break off of the flanking attacks and start trying to hit the head of the fire. That means flying crosswind to this strong 30-knot crosswind. These air tankers are displacing several wingspans upwind in an effort to attack this head if they can get a spot underneath the smoke, but the winds are so bad, the crosswinds, that the retardant disperses out of the air tankers and just smears all over the sides of these houses, in some cases nearly a block or two away from where they wanted the fire retardant to lay. So in order to displace far enough upwind, that puts the air tankers too far up into the smoke to really be effective. So a really tough attack to try to attack the head of this fire with the retardant. Again, remember the retardant whole concept is to simply slow this fire down so that ground crews can stop the fire. So they got the dozers out there and the hand crews to stop the fire along the flanks. And the air attack is only trying to slow the spread of the fire in this dry sagebrush. These photos are courtesy of the Reno Gazette-Journal out of Reno, Nevada. The AP. Here's a S2T beginning to get down and start working towards the head of the fire. Here's I think that's an S2T, might be a larger air tanker, working his way down the left flank of the fire earlier in the day. Here's one of the single-engine air tankers, one of the seats that's based out of Reno Stead. And this fire is taking place in the middle of the day, but with all that smoke, it looks like night by the time this smoke gets down towards the houses. Here's the Erickson MD-80 air tanker. The gear down, we'll discuss that in a future update on this particular air tanker. It's pretty much a paperwork snafu at this time as to why they need to drop with the gear down. Again, looks like the left flank of the fire getting down closer towards where the houses are. Here's a picture of the pit at Stead Airport, S2T Tanker 88 and Tanker 102, the Erickson MD-80 air tanker. And here's what happens when you try dropping in a crosswind situation. The retardant just spreads out. Even if you crank that coverage level up so high, the retardant spreads out so thin and so sideways it ends up plastering the sides of the house instead of the tops of the houses. You can really tell this was a strong wind-driven event. This is right on the ragged edge of limitations for the use of air power at all. Some more of the houses that were saved. More pretty pink houses. Again, that's the first time I've seen the retardant so far up the side of a house. These are extreme wind-driven events, especially over in Nevada, this part of Nevada, where the wind's always blowing in the afternoon. That's what the retardant looks like laid down in the sagebrush. So it looks like that particular line of retardant held. Whole idea to slow the fire down so that fire crews can get around it with a dozer line or a hand line. And that's the left flank coming down off the mountain. High-octane sagebrush. So here's the live cams from Alert Wildfire on Nevada BLM Wildlands website. This camera is located here east of Reno and looking back towards the area that burned along 395. And here you can see the burned area of the fire that came just rolling down this mountain and into these houses down below here. So Peavine Mountain is located a little further off to the left of this screenshot. So I hope this gives you a little better understanding of what the air crews were up against in this wind-driven event. Again, it was not until the sun came down and the wind came down that firefighters were actually able to get this fire contained. So until the weather changes, Can you actually stop the fire? Thanks so much for your support and all you patrons over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.